double quotes at the beginning.
and then double quotes at the very, very end.
Okay.
You want to make sure all your pipes are within that little realm.
Okay.
Right, we want to end
And
up.
there's no space, right? It's just-
Right, yeah, we want to end up with 61 pipe,
Perfect.
6120 pipe, 6130.
So you mean 6110 pipe?
I think it after each one.
No, just at the end. 6120, 6130, and then double quotes. Okay. Next one is posting date, and it's going to be all of 2000.
Push.
Sure.
It's kind of easier to flash my guard in it, but I let you just go back and forth, but.
Well, this one, let's see, create a list of all users. Yep. So,
Yeah, we can click out.
so drop down to it's actually saying it's the geo account number,
Okay.
right? Because we want to say only these geo account numbers. So if you type G/L.
Yeah, it is.
Let's try it.
Set up all of your like financial reports.
Oh,
Yeah.
now we're
Yeah.
In there.
All right.
Did you hit insert previously? Okay.
Click down here.
Oh, because we're in the customer ledger entry instead of this. This one's the geo entry. So that one, that's,
Yeah.
so we need to go to G/L entry table. That's why we couldn't find a geo account.
Coke, you want a Coke?
Why put that 17 for me and what I do there?
Because you've got, that's the table number itself. Yeah, so you've got that setting turned on where it'll actually display the table numbers as well as the name.
Oh, well, I
of the
prefer
caption.
water then, I'll wait.
But it's the same work.
Yeah, I've had to use that, so if you drop that down, you should be able to say GL account. I've had to use that table number before when people upgraded from an old version of Nav and pulled into a new one, and they took all the historical data and put it into another table, but they named them exactly the same, so they had two customer tables, two vendor tables. I'm like, what is going on here? I was baffled. And then I found, because they made custom tables that were, table number 5,623 customer table versus table number 18. So we had to build a report with those table numbers as well.
Yeah, that would be useful, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. How's everybody doing? All done? Keep waiting. All right. So let's exercise 1. Exercise 1, as part of a report in which the materials manager needs to track the use of inventory in the manufacturing process, create a list of items that we used in manufacturing during the month of September 2008. So what is it that we want to display?
Item number.
Item number. Okay, and what's our function look like? It's going to be rows. Which table?
Item ledger entry.
Item ledger entry. And what field?
Item number.
Item number. Okay, and our filters? Posting date of September 0901. What month? Year? 8?
Yeah.
093008. Now you notice as I'm typing those in, and I hit tab, it automatically puts those double quotes around it.
Any water supply out?
Oh, yes. Star. Thank you.
All right. We're reluctant to give you one if that's paid for our events.
I hope you're paying for these. Charge them to Glenn. Capital project.
Dash 50.
Don't say capital project, because I get hit with it, so.
Surely you're not getting hit with his capital project.
It all rolls down, trust me.
Alright. So as we notice, if I put in that date,
Oh,
I'm sorry, and I hit tab, it automatically put those double quotes around it. But we found sometimes when we put those double, type in our value, and hit tab, it doesn't do it. How do we know when it does and when it doesn't? It has to do with the type of data in the database. So in this instance, my, let's see, what numbers do I have? My lot number is probably going to be an integer. Area, I think, is the number. There we go. My area field in my database is an integer. So I typed in 15, I hit tab, and it did not put double quotes around there. This will evaluate correctly. It will see it's an integer of 15. Where this becomes a problem, and you get too used to just typing and hitting tab, is let's say my area is 15-100. I hit tab, it now evaluates 15 minus 100. So I have an area of -85. So in this instance, I have to manually put in 15-100 with the double quotes around it, and it now evaluates it as a string. So just be aware of that. When you get into adding special characters or integers, right, we have to manually type in those double quotes. It's kind of a nuisance. But the reason for that is because it could be an integer, which means no quotes would work just fine. You'd think it would just be fine to just say that, but where that comes into problem is if I say, well, this is A2 minus B3, I don't want that to actually interpret as the string of A2 minus B3. I want that to evaluate the cell of A2 minus the value in B3. So that's why it gets a little kind of strange and why we need to do that with integers. But that has to do with any time we have an integer or we're adding in pipes or greater than or less than, things that could be used for whatever reason. A range seems to be just fine because it understands a date range will be, if I type in dot dot, it understands, hey, it's a starting date and an ending date. So just be aware of that. Whenever you see that and you're like, throws a syntax error, it's because you don't have double quotes around it.
Could you, here's just a random question, could you run a date range from like April 13th through the next year?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the year range?
Yeah, I mean, I could just say October 5th.
Actually, isn't there a calendar if you hit the down arrow?
Yeah, I mean, this is, you could go through and select the dates. This is just a little bit slower way of going through and.
I just wasn't sure if it could go cross years.
Yep.
And everything.
Yep. Well, now I've got a crazy date range, so.
Or you
Let's
can
put
have
in.
like greater than equal 1, 1.
Here's the thing with
1,
date.
4.
Yeah, here's the thing with dates. Don't use greater than or equal to.
What?
I know. Don't do it. Jet's gonna get mad at you. You want to think. You want to think of this in terms of kind of nav, and it's.
That's insane.
I know. So. We don't want to have greater than 1, 1, 15. What we want to do is say, okay, well, values we want greater than or less than, I always get these mixed up. We want to treat our dates as open-ended. So instead of having a start date and an end date, I can say 1/1/15 ... Start on this date, go till today. Or actually it says go till the end of time. So this will actually pull stuff up into the future if you happen to post things in the future. Or if I want prior to this year, I would just say 12/31/14 with a dot dot beginning. From the beginning of time up to and including this date. So instead of thinking greater than or less than, just do open-ended date ranges. The greater than or less than will work from time to time. It's one of those things that will work until it won't work. It's not going to break your report, but it just will stop working. But it's getting passed into nav as a dot dot, so that's how it's, you know, interpret. We need to interpret that. So let's put these back in 093008. Okay, and so my other filter was entry type. And we said consumption. All right. So when we run it, we've got these numbers basically 1100 through 1900-ish. Yeah. All right. So let's color this. Remember. Okay. So exercise 2. On this one, we want to create a list of customers who owe something on an invoice, whether current or overdue. what is it that we want to see? Customer number. Yep. And so our function will be rows. We want to go to our customer ledger entry. And our field is customer number. And our two filters were document type, just invoice, okay. Choose invoice. And the other one was remaining amount. And this is one of those where I have to put in the quotes, not equal to 0. I could also do this, I could drop this down. Let's take this out. There's a reason why I don't typically show the drop down as this, because of the limitation we're going to run to in exercise 4. I can say not equal to, grab the 0 and insert that, and now I have not equal to 0. But what if I didn't have no remaining amounts of 0 in my database? Well, then now I'm kind of stuck. I don't have anything to choose from. So that's why typically I just type out what the values are. Okay. So I know it seems silly that I'm typing all these out, but we need to come back to them. So, okay. Create a list of salespeople who had a commissionable sale transaction, invoice, or credit memo in January 2008. So what is it we want to see? Document type, posting date, salesperson code. Salesperson code. And our function is rows, custom ledger entry. And our field is salesperson code. And our filters are document type. And again, if I know it, invoice, oops, type in there. Invoice type credit memo. Okay. And the other one is posting date of January 2008. If I put the range in. Okay. And we get those folk there. Okay. And lastly, example 4. We have create a list of all users who made a posting to GL account 6110, 6120, or 6130 in 2008. So we want to get a unique list of user IDs. Walked around and looked like everybody got these without issue. It all came down to the filtering and how we put those in. We're going to go to our G/L entry. And I want the user ID, where the posting date is 10108, 12/31/08, and GL account number, account number. And here's the other reason why I typically don't use the drop down. Is as we scroll down here, well, you can see I've got all of my accounts, quite a few of them. If you do this yourself, you didn't see those. So what do you do? If it stops at 200 or 2000, how do you do that? Well, at that point I would say, you know what those are, just type them in. 6110, pipe, 6120, pipe, 6130.
No, why wouldn't we have those?
Good question. I'm going to go ahead and save this so I don't have to retype it out. We should get 4 people, Janice, Katie, Scott, Sherman. Excellent. It has to do with our data source settings. No, our application settings. Here it is. So in our application settings, I have these 2 different values here. These will limit how many records it's going to scan through to find values. So my lookup record scan limit, I'm having to go through 10,000 records.
Ours is probably different.
I think by default it's set to 1,000. So if I choose 1,000, and I were to go back in here,
You're going to see it. Okay.
I no longer have that, right? It scanned through 1,000 records in my GL entry, and these are the values it found, so it didn't find anything higher than that. The reason for that is just speed, right? If I say look through all those records to just bring me back the sample values, you may drop that down and sit there twiddling your thumb, right? Oh, well, I'm going to go through these 10 million records to find those unique values. So that's most of the time why I don't show that drop down as a way to do it, because I feel like if you know the values, just type them on in. Unless, of course, you're stuck with, I need a lot of them. Now, the other way we can get around that, right? One thing that somebody noticed is, let's say we choose this, we're gonna go back to example 3, and we have invoice or credit memo, right? I can hold down Control or Shift, right? If I hold down Control, I can choose a number of different ones. If I hold down Shift, it works just like I normally would expect. I choose invoice, I go down to reminder, and it selects all those values. Now when I hit enter, it actually does a range from the word invoice to the word remainder, so all those values in between there. So that's great until you enter in a new document type that fits in there that you don't want in your report.
So you got one.
So yeah, the problem is even if I say, well, I want invoice or credit memo and I'm doing Control, they happen to be next to each other, so it still does a range. But what's nice is I can hold down the Control and choose ones that aren't consecutive, and it puts the pipes in for me. It's just depending on if they're consecutive or not. It's just the way it interprets it. It would